daughter's first beer to be in my garage at age 15 rather than age 18 at some frat party surrounded by like 17 guys named Smitty.
Big dogs are in the house!
Hey! The 84 jerseys out, man. I think this is going to be a fun ride.
Bye, Felicia.
Inside the lane, drive, left, fronted by Parks! Oh my goodness! Where did he come from? Behind the back jam by the big team! This is not Detroit, man! This is the Super Bowl!
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Practice like this? Up! We up!
Straight cash, homie.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Clock's here bullshit, so.
Home run! Welcome back, Lou Collins!
Welcome back to Thunderdome for yet another Byron Buxton's faster than dive picking up the tab at a dive bar when the group knows that you're going to a higher end place later on in the night, and then she'll be all like, well, I got the first round edition of And You Must Die, Minnesota Sports Talk. Kind of. I'm your not-so-humble co-host at Andy Carlson's show, riding shotgun with my partner in crime at Murphy. You already heard her cackling. Hey, how's it going?
It's going well.
Now, is that a fair assessment?
Is what a fair assessment?
The intro.
No, I'm not cheap like that.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not really cheap either. You know, I'm one who doesn't mind throwing some bills around if we're having a good time. But I will pull that every now and then. Like subconsciously, almost like I'm part a different religion.
Well, you kind of have to do that now because now you have a kid, and kids are freaking expensive.
Well, see, they are, except they're not in a way because I've already been to the store buying a bunch of diapers and buying wipes, and we're supplementing with formula and all that other various stuff. But I had this conversation today. There's so many random ass baby products that are marketed to women and young couples that I want to get into that business because you could throw like any sort of adverbs or adjectives or descriptions together and it'd be a baby product that people will probably buy, and you can price it whatever you want. And then like the moms or the registry people or like the grandmas or the moms or the grandmas will just buy it up because it sounds important. So we could just like shake it up. So it'd be like baby bottle anti-gravity digestion system.
There you go.
Don't even need a description. Just a box with a happy baby and a mom who looks very rested on the box. Label it $59.99 at Babies R Us, and someone will buy that.
And you know what? That's how real parents or real mothers know that that's bullshit because a well-rested mom with an infant, complete BS. You'd call BS right away.
Well, I do want to knock on like every piece of wood in the house right now because the baby is starting to settle down. Like she's, we're getting her feeding patterns down pretty well, and she sleeps about 5 hours to start off the night, and then she gets up like every hour and a half to feed. But overall, and talking to some of our young friends that are also first-time parents, we're fortunate right now.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you are. Yes. That's okay because the second one will have colic.
See, all right, so
That's how God evens everything out, just so you know.
Minnesota parenting talk, kind of. But it's perfectly fine. Oh, by the way, Di was the first guest on my new project, the Dad Mode podcast. New episode just dropped today with Shay and Irving. There was a lot more cursing on the Shay one than there was with Di. You should check it out. It's really funny. He let it fly. And take from a male perspective. And some points I think you might disagree with.
I will definitely check it out.
Boom. And
you really swore more than me.
Oh, heck yeah. And it was a great time. All right, so
Well, I'm used to kind of censoring myself on these things, though.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to redo.
Well, the thing is, it's not like you won't be back on. But I told Shay to let it completely fly because he's pretty well known as like one of the like the main callers on the Dan Patrick Show, and he's got like a cult following. And he actually approached me about coming on the show, which is pretty sweet. And so I was just like, "F it, just let it fly." A dad mo talk. We're listed explicit in iTunes for a reason. Just go, man. And he went, and it was awesome.
How old are his kids?
He just had a girl, 2 months or 3 months, somewhere in there.
So it's just first baby.
First baby. Yep.
Gotcha.
It was.
I'm a seasoned veteran, by the way.
Plus, he's in Chicago now, and he's a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. So basically, like half of the podcast was just about Adrian Peterson talk.
Nice.
But it happens. All right, so this is gonna be a flip flop. This is gonna be all about kids. But what was I talking about? Oh, we thought that our kid might be colicky to begin with, because she was up crying all night. We couldn't calm her down. We didn't know what's up. And then it turned out that she wasn't feeding enough at one time. So we, the wife is breastfeeding, and we got her on the bottle now, and the wife still pumps. Then we give her the bottle, and we can measure how much she's getting. So now she's putting on weight. She's a happy, chubby little baby, as the wife and I were both rotund children.
I was 8 pounds at birth. But I had both of my kids came 3 weeks early. So I had I wanted these super chubby babies, and I had these little skinny babies, 6 pounds, like super skinny. But Maddie Mini-Me had huge cheeks, every time. And I, with her, had a high risk pregnancy. So I had ultrasounds
Or were you skydiving?
constantly. No.
Oh.
No, I believe the term, I have a blood clotting disorder, and I'm also, the term was advanced maternal age, because I was 36 when I had her. Yeah, that was some BS right there. I saw AMA in my chart, and I thought, against medical advice, and my doctor's like, no,
American
that's
Marketing
advanced
Association?
maternal age. Yeah. So that, yeah. But anyway, she had these just huge chubby cheeks. So even though she was, a skinny baby, she had these cheeks.
Now, you know that there are moms out there that would prefer skinny babies, and just for vanity state, do you think they underfeed them? Do you think there's out there? There's got to be out there.
Oh, but you know what? There's sick people everywhere. I'm sure there are, which is really ridiculous.
I don't vaccinate my children because vaccination has a 0.0001% by a discredited doctor that it causes autism. Well, you know what it doesn't cause? Measles.
Right.
We beat measles.
And
Buy
here's
into the
thing.
system.
All of these things that are, the polio and all these other things that are mumps. I mean, there's a bunch of things that we've essentially eradicated that are coming back again because of these idiots. Am I probably on the wrong podcast to be stepping on that soapbox?
Well, no, that's perfectly fine. It'd be a warm up for next time you're on dad mode.
Well, I mean, I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
I don't want you to send your unvaccinated kid to school. No, thank you.
Well, see,
homeschool them then. If you don't want to vaccinate your kid, homeschool
I think
them.
it's something in the way that humans are wired, in that we always want to find a solution to something. Except I feel like we're so advanced, in a large part, for our society, that we're running out of problems to solve. We solved, landing on the moon. We solved high-speed internet. We solved, travel that didn't take 3 weeks to get from Minneapolis to Chicago. We solved measles. And now we're just looking for different things to solve. It's like, oh, now there's autism. Well, how can we solve that? Oh, by unsolving other things.
And I'm telling you, they're like, oh, there's so many autistic kids now, and there's so many kids with ADD, and there's probably a greater number right now, but it's not ridiculously so. They were just undiagnosed. It was just their problem children. They're, or behavior problems, or they were just cast as something other than what they actually had. So I don't buy into that. Okay,
so now to drop an extremely hot take before we close off parenting talk on Andy Must Die, to get to some actual sports. I feel like there would be less kids with Asperger's or ADHD or Tourette's if, as a child, when they were acting out in the grocery store, if their parent set them aside as like, hey, you do not act like this in public. Solved. Or I'm probably way off.
I mean, it's a medical diagnosis. I mean, I work with these kids. We have an autism program at my school. So
I was not talking about autistic kids. We need to be clear.
Asperger's is.
Otherwise, the Blue Army will come after me.
I will say this: we, and when I say we, I really don't mean me because I'm not, are raising a society of children that don't understand how to deal with when things don't go their way or they don't get what they want. Because mom or dad and everybody else is just basically told little Johnny that, yes, you can have this. If I tell you no and you throw a tantrum, I will give you what you want. Or, oh God, this was so funny. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I'm, when I play games with my kids, I routinely beat them.
Damn straight.
Because they need to learn how to be to be good losers. They need to understand that they're not always going to win. And one of my friends looked at me like I was the devil.
I can't wait to play basketball with my kids so I can Mutombo, no, the entire time.
You just can't. They have to learn those things. And as a parent, it's your responsibility to help them learn that.
All right. So to kind of bring this back around to sports, like the whole everyone gets a trophy epidemic. And the whole I agree with kids getting, even playing time, even treatment up to a certain age, because, up to a certain age, sports is all about fun, experience, being out with your friends. But at some point it does turn into, character building competition. I would say probably like the 9th grade high school level, maybe even middle school, 7th, 8th grade.
I would say middle school.
Yeah. And at some point, little Johnny, who, bless his heart, he kicks butt in the classroom, but he's not meant to be an athlete, shouldn't get the same playing time or attention as the kid who is going to be an athlete and could get a college scholarship to, play athletics and get a good education. But, since we're treating these kids, everyone's equal. There's no winners or losers. Everyone gets a trophy. We don't even keep score. No one even keeps score. Yeah, like you said, they do have to accept losing, and they have to be gracious winners, and they have to accept that that's part of life. I mean, we're not teaching these kids that in the real world, whether it be sports, your life, relationships, financially, anything like that, if you get knocked down or if you lose, you can always come back the next time and, give better effort, do something better, try a little harder, and hey, you can be a winner. But no, we don't teach that.
You're not going to get a participation medal. I mean, when I grew up playing softball, we kept score immediately. Like I started playing in 1st grade or 2nd grade, maybe 3rd, because I didn't do t-ball. I started with slow pitch, so probably 3rd grade. We kept score. There was a winner, there was a loser, and yeah, you rotate kids in and out, and you give all the kids playing time because at that age, it's all about learning how to be on a team. But at some point, I mean, I will admit right now, my son is not an athlete. He's a decent runner when he plays soccer. He's not bad, but he's just not an athlete. He has no interest. We were at the Saints game on Sunday, and he looked at me and he's like, "What's a double?" And I looked at him and I'm like, "You can't possibly be my child." But it's because it's never been interest of his, and I've never pushed that on him. So,
he's going to be a big kid though, isn't he? Like your husband's tall and, pretty brawny.
My husband's 6'2". My son will be taller than me probably within the next 2 years, which isn't saying much, but my daughter's not far behind. So I will be the shortest person in my family by a long shot. My husband's 6'2", his sister's almost 6 feet. They have cousins that are over 6 feet, men and women. So yeah.
And see, this is going to be a conversation which we'll have down the line, like when my kids get older. But say your son, say he hits a gigantic growth spurt like 7th grade, and then 8th or 9th grade he ends up being like 6'5", 270, just this big kid, and then the high school football coach sees him in the hallways, is like, "Hey, you're coming out for football." And he gets pressured into doing it. Doesn't love the game, doesn't want to, but he's trapped in the body of a football athlete. So he ends up doing that all through high school. Is miserable the whole time, but he doesn't. He doesn't quit because if he had a completely different set of parents, I know that you guys wouldn't do this, but if they were pushing him into it, like it was like the family business, or the dad is shoving his unfulfilled high school football dreams. I would have gone pro if the coach didn't have it out for me. Exactly. That whole thing, and that's how you get miserable kids. And it's almost like the thing where you have to see what they're interested in. Introduce them into a lot of things, and once they pick up something they enjoy, you can give them a little pushing, but don't try fitting a square peg in a round hole.
You can't. You have to take your kids for where they are. And my son is a genius in Minecraft and with Legos and the crap he can do. It's with computers and stuff. It's amazing. Maps, directions. I mean, you name it. He's got a million talents. Athletics just isn't one of them. And that's totally fine with me. As huge of a sports fan as I am, I can't put that on him because that's not who he is. I accept him and love him and appreciate him for who he is. And sports that's just not it. And that's okay. I mean, maybe when he's older, he might get interested, but if not, it doesn't matter. My husband's really not into sports either. So I'm the biggest sports fan in this house by a mile.
You could have done him some favors and actually told him what a double was. And instead of telling him it's cheeseburger.
Well, here's the thing. I asked Mini-Me and she's like, oh yeah, it's when you get a hit and you get to second base. So,
Or it's when Byron Buxton hits a single.
Very nice.
That's a very
he's so fast.
It's a very smooth segue. So
it's a very smooth segue.
I was telling Di, before we started, I haven't watched a lot of sports, to be honest, because the kid has its own schedule. I've been banging the hell out of a lot of Hulu and Netflix, and we'll talk about TV a little later. But Buxton kid is up. He can't hit worth a damn, but he's so fast. So fast.
He is so fast, and the thing is, they moved him into the leadoff spot, which is where he naturally should be.
Yep.
So I'll be really interested to see what that does for him, because batting ninth, and quite frankly, batting behind a pitcher, that does something to your confidence, I think. So I don't think they brought him up too soon. I think he's ready. I just think he needs at-bats.
Well, see, it was something where the defense was so bad in center field as it was. We were relying on Aaron frickin' Hicks for the second time around, where if he came up, the kid can obviously play defense, has a great arm. He's like a 19-tool player, wherever the baseball people call him. And basically any sort of hitting he has is kind of just gravy. And I feel like toss him at the one spot where the offense had been really struggling anyways. It can't really do much worse.
Not really.
Yeah.
And right, he's defensively, he's a huge upgrade. So, yeah, they'll be fine. Sano will be up soon, and that's a bat that they need. They're surprising me. I certainly, when the last season ended, I'm like, dude, next season's not going to be much better. But it has been. But I don't expect them to make the playoffs. I just wanted them to be better than they were last year, which really wasn't that hard. But they are.
Oh, so this is like the scene in Major League where the team's starting to do pretty good, and then they're like, these guys ain't so freaking bad, and then Dai is like the Japanese grounds crew. There's like, they're still shitty. You're still not believing.
I don't think I'd be love if they made the playoffs, but I'm not going to make that call right now.
It's so easy now. 5 teams make the playoffs. How hard can that be?
Well, I don't know.
5 out of 15. That's a third.
It's the Twins. They always they've just many seasons they found a way to completely F things up.
If Roger Goodell was commissioner of Major League Baseball, there'd be 7 teams in the playoffs.
Just 7?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. Let's see what else. All right, so we didn't come in with the usual prep on the episode because this is kind of like my mandatory OTAs because I'm just coming off a podcast paternity leave. Is actually a thing. So, hey, we're just riffing. I actually think this is better content anyway.
No, cool. We can talk about anything, you and I.
Speaking of anything, you got to talk to a little wide receiver. Oh, no, actually, kick returner Cordarrelle Patterson. So that's exciting.
He's not little. He's definitely not little. I did, actually. So the Daily Norseman was contacted by, I'm not even sure what the intermediary was, but essentially Buffalo Wild Wings asked us to come out and cover a grad party crash that Cordarrelle was going to be a part of. And so on this past Saturday, I went and it was crazy. This kid got all kinds of cool stuff. Like Buffalo Wild Wings catered his entire party. So there's like wings everywhere and they made t-shirts for everybody to have. And, it was like Sam's grad party or something. It was crazy. But, yeah, so Cordarrelle surprised him. He made a video message to Sam, the graduate, and said, I really wish I could be there to help you celebrate. And then boom, he walks out from behind their big catering truck. And, everybody goes crazy. And at first when his video came on, though, someone was like, dang, that's Adrian Peterson. And I'm like, come on.
That's racist.
That's not going to happen.
That's racist.
I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
I mean,
so anyway,
Adrian's dreadlocks are black. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. Anyway, so he, got up and did a little speech and hung out with Sam. They played bags and they, hung out. He took pictures, signed autographs. He was very gracious. And then,
how was the reveal? Did you just like pop out, or was there like a?
He just like kind of walked out, and everyone's like, "Holy crap!" And he signed a football for Sam right in front of everybody. And Buffalo Wild Wings gave him a bunch of swag. Like he got an Apple Watch.
Now, was this a contest?
No. So Buffalo Wild Wings is doing this thing called a live event because their brand slogan or whatever is that sports are never more alive than at Buffalo Wild Wings. And so they came up with this idea of rather than taking it, in store, taking it out to events, like, major events in people's lives, birthday, graduation, whatever. And so they had started planning in late winter, and they thought graduation, that would be like a great one to do. And Sam apparently was a frequent tweeter about Buffalo Wild Wings and how much he like, I wish I should have them cater my graduation party, and how much he loves them, and he's all there all the time. So they picked him.
Oh. Well, damn.
Yeah, it wasn't a contest. It was a complete surprise. He didn't know until the morning of that Buffalo Wild Wings was even doing this, because I talked to his mom, and she said, yeah, 10:30 last night, Sam looks at me and goes, what are we having to eat tomorrow? Because there was no prep going on, and she's like, and so, I mean, but he's 18.
We're getting Tanucci's.
I'm like, it's fine. Tanucci's.
Oh, Tanucci's
is actually legit, by the way.
It is
Randy
damn
Moss
good.
Is a dick.
Yeah.
So anyway, they show up and they do the catering thing, and yeah, he had no idea that Cordarrelle was going to show up.
Oh, that's awesome. But this is gonna ruin Sam for the rest of his life.
Why is that?
Because it's like when you first get high on crack. You get this euphoric rush, and that was Sam's graduation party. Cordarrelle shows up. Yeah, he's gonna chase that high for the rest of his life, just like crack addicts.
Well, I mean,
he's gonna be breaking the houses, stealing TVs. Like, man, Cordarrelle, how much I got paid? Just coming on my girl.
I mean, it was Cordarrelle. Let's be honest. I mean, I would have been thrilled. I mean, and interviewing him was amazing. He's actually very funny, and he's very polite. Everything was yes, ma'am. I think the thing that was most surprising to me is my first question to him was when I asked him about, obviously this party was a big deal to Sam. And if you could pick someone to show up at a surprise party for you, like someone famous, who would it be? And he's like, I don't know. I can't think of anybody. And he told me that he didn't start following sports until he was like a junior in high school.
Ha.
And so finally he breaks out Rascal Flats.
What?
Yep. And he's like, yeah, sing me some of this and this and this, and rip it off, naming off some songs. And so I came home that night and I'm like Googling these songs. They're legit Rascal Flats songs. So he wasn't even BSing me. Like, he likes Rascal Flats. It was hilarious.
Now, who would have loved being at that grad party? The lead singer of Rascal Flats, because he's a big boy.
He is a big boy.
He is a big, and it's almost to the point where every time I make fun of his weight whenever they're on like the CMA Awards or something like that on Twitter, then I'm like, does he have a gland problem that I'm a regret saying this? I don't care, send.
No, he's working on his dad bod.
Nah, that's not even dad bod. That's like like your cool uncle who will sneak you a beer when you're 12 bod.
Okay, I was being generous. But yeah, Cordarrelle's cool. He's really cool, and he said some things that really impressed me. He because I basically said, what's the hardest thing about last year, and what have you learned going forward? And he said he was kind of coasting. Year one was easy and fun, and year two was not, and he kind of took things less seriously. And I think being in it's one of my Daily Norseman fellow bloggers pointed out to me that he's had to learn 4 new offenses every year. For the last 4 years, he's had to learn a new offense every year. And that's a lot, especially if you're not, super bright. He's not stupid, but that's a challenge. So
this episode's going to be called Di Calls Cordarrelle Dumb.
You better not. Seriously, I liked this kid a lot. He looks way more cut than he did too. And I talked to him about training camp because he said, yeah, I wasn't having any fun last year and I need to have fun again. And I said, you were all smiles at training camp. And he said, yeah. And he just kind of left it there. So I think he's kind of overwhelmed, but I think he's figuring it out. Like today, somebody tweeted to me, would you trade him for a second rounder in 2016?
I would.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. The kid has talent. He's raw. He's so raw and kind of immature, but he's going to figure it out. I think he has because he has the right people in his ear.
I don't know. It's not apples to apples for what they're suggesting, but if you could trade Cordarrelle right now for a Eric Kendrick level player, signed.
Yeah, but and this is probably just me being kind of emotional about it or whatever, but I want to give the kid another chance. Like if he has another unproductive year, then yeah. But then again, at that point, no one's going to give you a second for him. So hard to say.
Really going to be competing with Eric Laura. Wait, no, Eric Laura's way gone. I'm trying to think of a random wide receiver who's like the 9th guy on the team. Toots, the Notre Dame kid. Yeah, he's competing with Toots for that 7th wide receiver spot. Let's go.
Stop it right now.
I've seen anything that we get at Cordarrelle this year as like found money, or you're at the casino, you suddenly see like $100 bill on the ground, you're like yank yoink. That's Cordarrelle this season. Honestly, anything beyond like even if he struggles in kick returns, I mean Stefon Diggs is gonna be right there. I'm ready for Stefon Diggs. He tore it up at OTAs and minicamp, and he Mr. Mankato, book him. Diggs.
Okay.
Diggs.
I like the kid. I mean, and I think having the increased competition is not a bad thing for Cordarrelle. I mean, I think he recognizes that he has to prove something this year or they aren't going to waste any more time on him.
That's true. All right, so I had no idea what got this in my head. Oh, we were talking about the Rascal Flats guy being the uncle who sneaks your kid beer at 12 years old. What is the age that you're going to let your kids drink a beer?
21.
Like a whole beer?
21.
How about half a beer?
21.
I forgot
I'm sure they're gonna drink plenty before that I'm not even aware of.
No, see, I forgot that you're an educator and you have to say that. But all right, so you can go non-comment this entire time, but I just want to explain. So I'm thinking they'll probably get curious around they'll always be curious as kids. They'll be like, oh, daddy's drinking his pop and blah, blah. But I think 13, 14, they'll actually get the idea of, this might be a good idea. I might want to try this. I'm going to be tempted. The wife has already yelled at me a little bit, but I might go for it because 14, 15, the kid's going to find booze anyways, whether it be with his jerk off friends or at some random high school party, or if they get to college.
13 or 14.
I have no comment, but all of my friends and my dad had a beer fridge or a liquor cabinet, and they usually don't have locks because people are a lot more trusting back in those days. But so if your kid is completely straight laced, or you just deny, and then send them off to college, they can't handle their liquor. This is a brand new experience, and I'd much rather have my daughter, especially my daughter's son, that I could really care less, but my daughter's first beer to be in my garage at age 15 rather than age 18 at some frat party surrounded by 17 guys named Smitty. You know what I mean?
I would hope she had the good sense to not hang out with guys named Smitty. But
well, you know what would be her stupid roommate who she's still friends with the introductory week of college because her roommate hasn't eaten her peanut butter yet. And she'll be like, oh, hey, my sister is a junior. She can get us into this frat party. Then she goes down to frat row, and then bad things happen. I already have this thought out. It's 17 years down the line.
This is disturbing you.
18 years down the line, but I don't care.
Clearly disturbing you.
Although at this rate, there probably won't be any fraternities in 18 years.
You do realize that if you serve a minor in your home, that's against the law.
Well, yeah. It's not like the garage door is going to be open. Well, it might be. Summer.
I would still never serve my underage children, alcohol.
Well, no, it's not like I'm going to be throwing a kegger for the kids, but little Johnny. How about you start with a little Coors Light? It's basically water. I mean, yeah.
So my first experience, you want to hear about my first experience with alcohol?
Yes.
Okay. I was 15 or 16. My parents were gone. They were out playing cards with friends. And my best friend was sleeping over. And I'm like, hey, Jen, let's go mix a bunch of alcohol into a glass and then throw in some Mountain Dew and see what happens.
Did you call that? Did you call it doing alcohol as well?
No, it was like suicide. Oh. I can't remember. Suicide something is what we called it. But anyway, so I got hammered.
What was the booze?
Oh, we put in we mixed. It was a bad idea. It was like Southern Comfort and gin and vodka, and it was just like this cocktail that no one else would ever drink. No one who had experience with alcohol would ever drink.
Now, were her parents the type that had like the nice high end stuff, or was it?
Oh, we were at my house.
Okay, was it?
And Southern Comfort was the frequent alcohol at our house.
Okay, but was the gin or the vodka like the cheap stuff in the plastic jugs?
Oh no, never.
Okay. Oh.
So we get completely lit.
Yeah.
And we go to bed. And I wake up in the middle of the night and I start puking all over her. Like all over the bed, all over everything. And we still stayed friends, but.
Well, so she was Little Spoon.
I don't know. I woke up, sat up and started puking. And it was terrible. Oh, because my birthday had been like the day or two before. And so we'd eaten a bunch of birthday cake. Mm. And then drank that. Yeah, it was terrible. It was bad. It's really bad. But she got me back like 3-4 years later. We were at a bowling alley doing moonlight bowling, and she got really drunk and leaned over and puked all over my feet. So she did get back at me.
All right, so I have a great puking story as well. So this was like 2009, maybe. In the cities, and Halloween, I dressed up as the Joker. So was it 2009 or 2010? Anyways, it was the fall right after The Dark Knight came out, whatever that year was. So everyone was dressed up as the Joker. I planned for that. So I decided to go the Joker dressed as the nurse. Remember that scene?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I basically got a sexy nurse outfit and then put all the Joker makeup on. It was fantastic, right? And so, God, speaking of found money. So we're at a bar, and I'm just walking around, and all of a sudden, I just find $400 on the floor. Like right near the ATM. I'm like, oh, holy hell, what the hell is going on? Now, we had already pre-gamed quite a bit. So my wife was yelling at me. It was like, why'd you take out hundreds at the ATM? I mean, you already have cash on you. And I was like, I was still sober enough to argue. It's like, this is the type of place that does not distribute hundreds at an ATM. This isn't a strip club. I mean, so there's reasons it's not 20s, okay? It turns out I did not take it out. So I didn't imagine that part. We literally found $400 on the floor, and then we went buck wild. It was a Grey Goose and sours were the thing of the night, and we went through too many of them. Anyways, we get into the car, go into another bar in my friend's Toyota Corolla, and I'm sitting in the back seat, not feeling that great. This is when I-35 still had those little green barrier things in the middle. I never knew what they were for. They're probably for like soundproof or something, but I was so hammered that I was like, the window was open, and he was like, hey man, if you got to puke, just stick your head out and puke. But I was so hammered that I was afraid that if I stuck my head out the window, I was going to smash my brain up against one of those green things, even though we were in the far lane. So I yak. It was not out the window. And plus, since there was multiple windows open, it was like a vacuum. And it came back in, got on my wife, who was sitting in the middle seat in the back, and some of our friends in the seat next to him, all over his Timberwolves blanket, which was like a 6-year-old gift from his great-grandma, who is now deceased. And we are still friends. It's fantastic.
He must love you because actually, quite frankly, I can't believe your wife actually stayed married to you after that.
No, that's the thing. We weren't married that.
And she still married you?
Actually, we might have been married. I don't know. But it just shows that since we can be friends after a situation like that, just shows what a awesome and great friend that I really am.
Way to go, Andy.
I know. It's good. And plus, stealing beer from my dad's fridge when I was a kid was really easy because he always buy 30 packs.
There you go.
And I don't think he was that good at counting anyways.
So just randomly 1, 2, or 3 here, here and there. Yep.
Except there's always Busch Light or Special Export.
Oh, God, I used to drink Special X Light. Oh. Root beer barrels with Special X Light. I'm ashamed.
See, I like root beer, but root beer barrels just never set. I think it's just the like the sugar, high fructose corn syrup, whatever it is in the root beer schnapps. Like it just tastes viscous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't explain why I could drink it. It's disgusting. Like I couldn't do it now.
All right. Speaking of doing now, when's the draft? Is that tomorrow?
It is.
All right, now, what sort of build-up have you experienced up to that? Because I haven't read anything. I haven't really watched anything. Right.
Well, it's a foregone conclusion that the Wolves are going to draft Towns. Excuse me, which sort of makes me nervous. Like they're going to F it up and not take Towns, which they really need to take Towns. He's the best fit for a Wiggins-centric team. And, I mean, Wiggins is the center of this team. They're building around him. So Towns would be the best fit. Okafor would be okay. I'm not interested in Russell. So, yeah, I think they're just going to go up and basically like, boom, we're taking, Cat. And, but I'm not sure what else they're going to do because a lot of people around here want them to go get Tyus Jones from Apple Valley.
You got to go in the second round, though, or late first.
He's so small. And I just don't think he's physical enough.
Speaking of physical, why don't you take a pee, and I will vamp, and I will tell the very nice people about
you
the
got
Dad
my
Mode
message?
podcast.
Yeah. I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, Dad just DM me, hey, I got to pee.
All right.
My UTI is acting up again.
Do not have a UTI. Don't be an ass. All right.
Fine. All right. So Di is gone. Let me tell you a little bit more about the Dad Mode podcast. So I'm a new dad, as you may have picked up from the first 20 minutes of this episode. And since I start podcasts, I'm the podcast guy. And I decided to start one called the Dad Mode Podcast. And so far, we've had guests on, Shay and Irving, Di was a guest, and just talking about parenting from a dad's perspective in this sort of world, because it's going to be tough. I can already tell. My immortal enemy, I already have it pegged, is the suburban soccer mom. And I have to qualify this every damn time until it picks up, because being a suburban soccer mom does not mean female necessarily. It can be a male. You can be a male suburban soccer mom too, but you know the type. Maybe suburban soccer parents could be easier, but that's not what we go with. Because the whole everyone gets a trophy. My kid's allergic to everything, even though the kid's really not. The kid's eating a gluten-free diet, not because the kid has celiac disease, but because the mom thinks it's trendy. The mom doesn't vaccinate because that's what Jay Cutler's wife doesn't do with her kids because it might cause autism. You know what it doesn't cause? The measles. And absolute things like that. And school lunches, we have great memories of them, Italian Dunkers and rectangle pizza, except they're terrible. They are terrible. Schools are shutting down. Schools are terrible all over the place, and we're just trying to raise normal, well-adjusted, disciplined children that are going to contribute to society, but it's going to be tough, since parents are free-range parents, or they don't discipline their kids, or, oh, you're going to get a timeout, mister, how dare you? Oh, you burned down a school? Oh, you better be on timeout. And that's the sort of thing that we have to deal with in these modern days, because if you even admit that when your kid does something very, very terrible, you spank. And it's never out of a place of anger, and it's always very clear that this is the consequence of said action that you were warned several times before. And we're not talking about Adrian Peterson stuff here either. We're talking about a little pooch on the behind. But if you admit to that, certain mom groups, they'll have you in jail for 5 to 7. Yeah, I heard the mute come back on, but I just love vamping.
Well, I mean, we talked about the spanking thing, and I think the problem is, like, I'm really trying. I raise my kids the way I believe I should raise my kids. It's not my job to tell other people, as long as they're not abusing their children, like Adrian Peterson. It's not my job to tell them how to parent because every kid is different. But yeah. So I'm kind of agreeing with you, kind of.
Well, there should be like certain minimums. Like how teams have a salary floor in the NFL, they have to spend that much. There should be a certain minimum when in public of how your child should behave. Like if you're at a store, the kid's knocking down displays, acting a fool, cussing, getting in people's way, and then you see this so often, especially at Walmart. And there'll be like one mom with 4 of these kids just running all over the place, like Walmart's their playground. That's one of the many reasons why Walmart is terrible. But she is not meeting the salary cap floor. She's not meeting the parenting floor. You should rein your children in when in public, especially.
Did you see that video of the mom at Walmart?
Yeah, yes.
On the scooter?
Yeah.
Right. She's first of all, get off your fat ass and walk, because clearly you don't have a disability, and someone who does have one might actually need that. So she's riding around Walmart, and somehow she gets into this verbal altercation with this woman, which turns physical. And now in front of her small child, I mean, he must have been, 5, 6, somewhere in there. And he picks up he picks up a shampoo bottle and starts wailing on this woman. Like, it was the most surreal thing I've ever seen.
No, the biggest BS point of that is people not getting involved. And they said in the video, it was like, well, you can't get involved because then you get sued. Baloney. I mean, if you see 2 people having an argument, especially a kid is joining in, and yes, you can have them have the words, but once it gets physical, you get in there, break it up. I mean, be a gosh darn man for.
I mean, an innocent person. Well, not even have to be a man. I mean, an innocent people could have been hurt. That child should not have witnessed that, or especially shouldn't have participated in that. It was just.
Oh, that kid's going from the school to prison pipeline.
Oh God, for sure. I mean,
oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what he has for a mother, for sure.
He may as well get like the teardrop tattoos going now.
Get a head start. Go in with them, makes you tougher.
It pisses me off that how many people were watching that? Maybe like 10.
Well, and the guy filming it's like, look how funny this is.
I know, and plus he's like, I'm gonna get all the hits on YouTube. I mean, be a man, just be a gosh darn human being. Yeah, break that up. I mean, you're not gonna get sued for breaking up a fight when, especially when there's going to be a child involved. But
it was crazy.
Yep. Anyways, that was a live plug for the Dad Mode podcast. Be a man, be a father, go Dad Mode. And I have no idea what I'm doing as a parent, but neither. And no one really does.
Nobody does.
There's a general idea. Like, I can rule out things that are bad ideas. Like getting in a fight in Walmart and then having your kid join in as like your tag team partner, like this is SummerSlam. That's going to be a bad idea.
That's a bad idea right there.
Yeah. Also, any parent who if you're a parent who creates a first name for your child, stop. You need to stop what you're doing. Because, all right, so there's 3 sources where your children's name should come from. Your religious background, your family. There's another one. Anyways, they should not come from television shows. You should not be having kids name Katniss or Jackson with an X, even though, yes, it was a fantastic show. How do you think that kid's going to feel when he's like running for office? A vote for Jackson, blah, blah, blah. No. And also,
I actually have a family member that named their kid that.
Well, call him out. Also, if you're replacing vowels with Y's where they're not traditionally, you need to stop that too. The Aidens, Jadens, and Cadens, which both have 2 Y's in them, need to stop. Also, the name Kazan is ground zero, the absolute worst name in the history of mankind. Honestly, we peaked at that moment. That is the moment that America has regressed. It wasn't the economy. It wasn't anything like that. But no, we've bottomed out. We're done.
I mean, like, my name is Diane. Like, there are so few women my age named Diane, which is fine. I kind of like that. My birthday is on Valentine's Day, and my mother wanted to name me Valentina. Which...
Are you Italian?
No, we are German and Irish. So I could handle probably Val. Tina, nope. So
What's your
Diane?
maiden name, by the way?
What?
What's your maiden name?
Oh, I'm not going to tell you.
What's the name of your first pet? What's the name of the street that you grew up on?
Oh, that name is
I'm trying to hack all of your emails and personal accounts.
Punky Beach.
Oh, what? Oh, you're doing like the porn star
Street.
thing?
Right.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't have. No, I don't. No, I don't do that.
Let's see, Irish or German? So, was dad Irish or mom Irish?
Mom.
All right, so German, you'd be like Schwartzman, Diane Schwartzman, Valentina Schwartzman.
Nope, not even close.
Valentina Schwartzman would
Are
have
we
been
gonna
like.
talk some more sports or not?
Okay, fine. Kevin Love opted out.
He's probably gonna sign for more money in a longer contract, but it was still funny. I had this little fantasy of him like going to the Lakers, which are complete garbage right now, like a huge dumpster fire, and I would love for him to like toil there for years. And Kobe would hate him. Kobe would hate him so much. Don't you think?
Yes, but I feel like this is probably going to be Kobe's farewell season. Even though
he's spent the whole season bitching about Kevin Love.
Well, he'll never come out and say that this will be his final season because then they'll kind of paint him into a corner. Although I think Kobe is the type that who wouldn't care. Like Derek Jeter's farewell season, he wouldn't have come back and gotten the itch to be like, I could play for another year, but that's bad PR. I wouldn't do it. Kobe would not give an F. Like,
no, not at all.
Kobe could have next season. Kobe could have like the giant farewell tour. Very similar to Jeter. Every little stop at another team's arena, he gets like a nice little gift and blah blah blah. And then they're like, "Oh, well, so we're all done." He's like, no, come back.
Yeah, come back.
Kobe.
He needs that. Like that. I don't even think he understands. What is he going to do when he's done?
I don't know. He's been kind of an ass to pretty much everyone in his life.
Right.
Like he's come out and said, like, to be great at something, you basically need to shut out everything else in your life. And this is the type of guy who, this might be morbid, but if he doesn't pick up another avenue of competition, whether it be business like Magic Johnson picked up after he retired, or golf like MJ, or golf and business like MJ, he might off himself.
He is not going to off himself. He's way too arrogant to off himself. He'll do something. I mean, he has to be in the limelight. So maybe he'll be an analyst or on TV or something. He'll do something because he needs that. He needs that constant ego stroke.
Well, see, that really sucks is that if Kobe had his personality of a-hole scale is like a 90, okay? And MJ was probably like a 92, except a 90 as well. But he was a slight bit better than Kobe, so people put up with him. If Kobe's a-hole scale had been like an 80, him and Shaq could have gotten along and they would have won like 10 titles. And that sucks. Because I was a fan of Kobe and Shaq when they were together with the Lakers.
Doesn't suck for me. I don't give two shits about, or I'm sorry, I don't give two craps about either one of them.
Yeah, we crossed the Rubicon. It's perfectly fine. Even though the Lakers did knock the Wolves out when the Wolves made it to the Western Conference Finals. Yes.
That does make me a little bit bitter.
On the way to another title. Who knew? But as far as rebuilds go, K-Love, he's always been talked about, him going out to the Lakers. He's a California guy, blah, blah. I actually think the Lakers have a better shot of rebounding, faster than, well, obviously the Knicks because they're a disaster, and even the Sixers, who are starting to turn the corner and really stockpile up some young talent.
Well, they're in LA. They automatically have
they're the
a huge
Lakers.
Advantage. Right.
Yeah,
they have a huge advantage.
Once Kobe dies or goes away, they're going to have every.
Wait, I'm not killing off Kobe, even though I don't like him.
They're going to have every free agent knocking at the door because they are the Lakers, and if who's the bus kid name, the one who's messing up everything, Sam Bus. Anyways, the bus prodigy who's destroying everything because just bad ideas and bad decisions at the top. Jim Bus, there you go. And just let Jeannie run things. Jeannie's the genius. If you didn't have Jim, you would have had Phil Jackson in LA with his girlfriend Jeannie running things, and things would have been great. And then that way 2 franchises wouldn't have been miserable, and Phil wouldn't be miserable in New York. But I like the Lakers.
I do not like the Lakers. So there you go.
Except your AMA, you remember when they moved? Okay, that was cheap.
That was really cheap.
That was a pretty good one.
That was really cheap. I am not that old, and I look even not as old, so bite me.
I do have a bit of a soft spot for the Lakers. Now, I understand the hatred here in Minnesota because, yes, they did take our team, even though like 75% of Wolves fans weren't even born when the Lakers did move. And
what year did they move?
It was, let's see, after Bud Grant played for them. So it had to be at least 60s. And it was past, well, Mike might have spent a year or two out there. Yeah, we can Google this as a vamp because I do have a soft spot for the Lakers because they are good for so long, the whole Showtime Lakers thing. And
Bandwagon fan.
What's that?
Bandwagon fan.
Oh, please. Plus, I did have, my grandparents bought me a Magic Johnson jersey way back in the day. I'm not sure if it's pre-AIDS or not. I don't know.
Doesn't matter. Dude's still alive.
Or HIV. Let's see here. The Minneapolis Lakers up till 1960. They moved to LA in 1960.
Seriously, I look like I'm that old.
Oh, I didn't know when they moved.
FFS. Because I can't say it.
I just knew it. Well, you can say it. I just knew it wasn't in the 80s.
Good Lord. Why am I doing this with you again? Why do I take this abuse?
Because you have a good time, and we actually have good chemistry. It's unlike a couple local shows. But
I think you mean all the local shows.
Now, see, the thing is, like, I don't understand when radio shows or podcasts which with 2-person crews don't have good chemistry, and it almost seems like forced because I don't understand it because honestly, maybe I'm just a talker and can talk to anyone, but I just don't see it when there's like 2 awkward people. Why you keep them together or how it can be awkward in the first place? It's like a 2-step thing.
They like force it. It's like it's there or it's not. Just and within like 2-3 podcasts or shows. It's there or it's not.
Yeah, like when chemistry is on, it's on. I know you don't like PA and Dubé, but when they were together, they were good. And...
Oh no! Okay, so I might not like them as individuals.
Yeah.
But I loved their show. Granted, I really favored Dubé, unfortunately. But yeah, that was my jam. That was what I listened to. That was the place that I went to for sports talk. So I get it. I mean, I do. They were really good together. And
this might be a hot take as well, but I feel like some of the blogger nerds, analytics, I'm not, talking about like specific writers, but like the overall trend is into too in-depth analytics, and these kids are coming from the video game generation where they didn't get a ton of social interaction, or maybe they're socially awkward to begin with as children. Maybe that's what drove them to the video game world. And now we're starting to see that creep into podcasts and on sports radio, where you have these guys, these kids of the video game generation. They're becoming analysts and radio hosts, but they don't have any social skills. They can't talk to anyone.
Well, no, because they spend 90% of their time in front of a screen.
They're super smart, and they can spot off statistics and make arguments like no one's business on the blog. But when you get them behind a microphone, they climb up.
They're less than impressive. I mean, I would never for me, writing for the Daily Norseman, my jam is doing interviews. I'm good at that. I am good at the back and forth. I'm good at, getting stuff out of players. I am not a stat nerd. I could not do what Arif does. Arif Hassan, he's a god. I mean, he has so much knowledge, but that's not my thing. My thing is the interaction, the relationship with the player, getting them to answer questions that might not necessarily, when I asked Cordarrelle some questions. He's like, well, I've never been asked that, or I'm not sure. And so that's my thing. That's what I do. But I love people. I'm a very social person. So that's kind of naturally where I gravitate.
And that's why Di defines as a social drinker. I'm very social.
Shut up.
Yeah. But, piggyback on your point, there's nothing I find worse than when I make a post or put a podcast on Purple for the Win or Vikings territory. And because I'm relatively old school, I watch the game like your grandma. I'd be like, that's good, that's bad. I don't get like too in-depth on the stats. It's not really my jam, despite being Asian, which it should be my jam, but it's not. And then the thing that bugs me most is that, some Twitter stats nerd or video game nerd will come in like, well, actually, your point about Robinson was wrong because he was negative 0.95 on PFF ratings, and for his average per replacement is blah, 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 blah. I was like, that's not what I saw. I just saw he was bad.
Yeah. I mean, there's the smell test. It's like you see it and you know it. You don't have to go that deep. I mean, you really don't.
Well, all right, so I'll make a bit of an analogy. I feel like regular sports, baseball started it with the whole metrics thing and analytics, and analytics do have their spot in the game, but I've compared it to salt. A little bit is great, a lot you're gonna have a heart attack or hypertension in a couple of years. But like mainstream sports is becoming like poker coverage on television. It started like 2002, 2003. Back in those days, when Chris Moneymaker won the World Series, and it was Norman Chad and Lon McCarron, and they were great because Norman Chad was awesome. He was funny. He didn't take himself too seriously. He added some insight, but wasn't killing you with like the stats and numbers. And now, I haven't watched poker on TV for a couple of years, but I caught like a WPT was on Fox Sports, and all of a sudden like these guys are like, well, from late position with the A7 suit, you have a 17.9% chance of flopping and blah, blah, blah when you're in late position. But if it changes the early position, now I have this, and you're coming over the top of your opponent playing out of position. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
What's wrong with the smell test? Like, you know it or you don't. I am not a poker player because I have a face that like gives everything away. But I'm a good blackjack player.
You have no tells in blackjack?
Well, I mean, there are no tells in blackjack.
But blackjack is a much more like numbers-driven analytical game. Or do you just play the smell test way?
No,
I got a feeling,
like,
come on.
Like poker, you're playing against everybody at the table, and I either get really cocky, like and want to try and like bluff my way, which usually doesn't end well. Or I just, if I have a great hand, I just kind of can't hide that.
Oh, sorry, I have to round out the analogy. So poker back in the day, you think of like, a bunch of fat Italian dudes playing in a smoky back room, and it was like outlaws or gangsters like that. But now, then internet poker came along, and then the same sports and analytics video game nerds got into online poker, and then that's what demanded the coverage because all these kids took to the internet was like, well, what about his VPIP was 22 over 1, his PFR was 17? I mean, honestly, how could you play the hand that way? And then the TV coverage resulted in that because these kids were killing the game with their numbers. Poker used to be a game of people, a game of feel, and it still is to a degree, except the numbers kill things. And I really fear that baseball's already gone that way. I'm really worried that football is going to go that way next.
God, I hope not. It's just too much. I mean, just back off.
How many articles do you see where it's basically just a listing off of PFF rankings?
A lot.
And that's...
Which makes me sad and also pissed off.
I don't want to call it lazy because there are a lot of people like you're talking about Arif, Eric Thompson, who incorporate them as actual like not the basis of the article. You're not just listing up the figures, but incorporating it into an argument or a statement or a take. And that's fine. That's journalism. But when you're just listing off PFF numbers, be like, well, he did bad, he did bad, he did bad, he did good. That's terrible. And plus, PFF rankings is subjective anyways. It's one of the PFF nerds being plus or minus on each play. And then they total it up. So it's not technically analytic either.
Exactly. Yep, spot on.
So basically, it just comes down to one guy's opinion, and
so many people buy into that. It's like, really? Like, how is that a thing? Especially when there are so many out there that are that's just complete BS.
Well, it's something that I don't think can ever be quantified perfectly because, Zimmer has famously been knocking PFF for years, even though Spielman's kind of adopted it, where, the guy doesn't know the assignments, the guy doesn't know what's going on in the play, what happened beforehand, what is setting up this action. Everything is seen in a vacuum, and no, I don't know. That's a whole nother argument for another day. We could just do a whole episode of me being pissed off at PFF.
A whole nother episode.
Yeah, mostly because they didn't hire me. Well, no, just kidding. I never applied because I would rather claw my eyes out with like a rusty bottle dryer contraption, which is a thing.
That is a thing? Really?
Yeah, then grade tape. Because just watch the game and enjoy it. I mean, why do I care if Shamar Stefon got a negative 0.1 because he missed a gap assignment on a 3rd and 1? Woohoo.
I don't care. Nope. Not a care.
Speaking of which, when are you going to write next?
I don't know.
You came out of retirement
I know.
one time.
I hadn't written for the longest time, and this just gives me the itch. And like I said, the interviews are kind of my thing. And so I'm hoping that through Jeff Anderson, through the Vikings front office, that maybe we can get more interviews and that could be my thing. It's just everybody kind of has their thing on DN, and I think that could be my thing. But
do you think Jeff Anderson might tighten the reins a little bit since the Vikings got the new stadium? So maybe you don't need as good of grassroots PR.
I don't know. I will tell you right now that the Vikings have been amazingly good with 2 Daily Norsemen. They've given us a lot of access. I would like some more at Winter Park, but I understand that most don't get access at Winter Park. Like, the most available the Vikings players is at training camp. So I'm trying to decide if I'm going to cover training camp, if they want me to cover training camp. That's kind of where I'm at.
Well, you should probably go because I'm going for a weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
We should kind of coordinate.
Yeah, I'm trying to coordinate because we got the opening dates. I don't know for sure which weekend I'm going to go because we're going to be probably closing on a house relatively close to that time and have to be moving and such. But yeah, we should do it.
Let's do it.
And I don't even need access, to be honest. Like, honestly, I'll just stay at the hotel and then I'll just meet you guys at Tav on the Ave and we'll have a nice little corner booth. I'll give Tav on the Ave a little love on the podcast in exchange.
We do
for
love
the booth.
Tav on the Ave.
Boom. And then just stop in, drop some knowledge, and then I'll be like 13, 14 in.
I don't know. It's so fun to cover, though. To be on the field, to like hear what you hear, to see what you see, and then to be able to grab. Although I kind of, when I did my Brian Robinson interview, the Vikings like junior PR guy was all pissed off at me because he's like, all interviews are supposed to be over there, blah blah blah. But whatever.
Well,
Brian Robinson and I had a thing. Like he's like, I walked over and introduced myself, and he's like, I know you from Twitter, and it was cute.
Well, he probably just knew the hat.
He knew the hat.
Well, see, the thing is, I could get credentialed. I know it's been talked about at VT, but I don't know. Like, I would feel really bad because I'm not a journalist. I don't present myself as one. And if I take that credential, that's just one less credential for someone else, like an up-and-coming blogger who would really do good things with the access, where I would just probably stand around and, I don't know, BS on Marcus Sherrills and tell about the time that we ran into each other at Hy-Vee. He was buying turkey. Big stuff.
Well, you're right. At that point,
I might go up to Jabari Price and say, hey, man, why'd you get that DUI?
What the hell's wrong with you? No, you're better off at that point, quite frankly. But I loved covering training camp. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Well, That's because you got to wear sundresses and see Ted in jorts, and also see how tall Arif is compared to Ted. We talked about this before. I thought Ted was going to be a tall guy. He's not.
Ted is not a tall guy, although I think he's probably slightly taller than Arif.
I think
And
I'm
Arif
taller
is
than
only slightly taller than me. Although maybe. No, I think I'm tall. Yeah, I think he's taller than me, but like barely. But it was fun. We had a lot of fun.
All right, how tall are you?
5'3". Ted's like 5'5", 5'6".
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Yes.
God. I'm going to be playing post on our pickup basketball team then.
Oh,
nuts.
you are by far the tallest person, yes.
Me and Eric. We're just going to be down there on
Yeah,
low
Eric's
post.
taller. I have a picture with Eric. He's definitely taller than me.
I'll just
So,
be posting up, be like, ball, mouse in the house.
nice.
Those are basketball terms. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, anything else to plug? Besides that hour flew by.
It did. It flew by. And I don't, but I'm doing the
What-
Cordarrelle thing kind of really made me itchy to write again. So I'm hoping to try and get some more interviews through Jeff Anderson or maybe go to training
Who
camp.
would you interview right now if you get anyone?
Teddy.
All right, besides Teddy.
Anthony Barr.
No, the correct answer is Daniil Hunter.
Nope.
How many push-ups could you do right now?
I can't get on board of calling him like it's spelled like Daniel or Danielle.
Danielle. Yeah.
It's
But it's okay because he's Jamaican, and that's a very common Jamaican name.
and he's also ginormous. So
Yeah. And so it's like, what are you going to do?
you don't call
Like-
him Danielle.
Like, it's so hard to believe that, like, looking at his physique and, pictures of him without a shirt on at OTAs, that him and myself are, like, of the same genetic pool. Because he is, like, the specimen of how aliens, like, if we were going to define our physique to aliens, we would send a picture of Danielle Hunter. Whereas I am, like, the formerly athletic, slightly pudgy guy who has a kid. So now I'm more dad bod than actual, like, looking like fit.
That's okay.
My body would not be the one that they transmit to the aliens.
No, but it's okay.
All right, fine. We didn't even get to talk about TV. Anyways, The Last Ship, Tyrant, and American Crime are all shows I binge watch, and they're fantastic.
Okay, so I haven't watched any of them, but The Last Ship's kind of intriguing to me.
It is, and
Only because Eric Dane. Oh my God.
yeah, he's a good-looking dude. I'm not gonna lie.
Whew.
It started out a little slow, and you have to go in accepting that the acting is going to be very cheesy and bad, and there'll be like badass one-liners sprinkled in all over the place because it's written that way. And I got some reviews early on where it's like the show is terrible and blah blah blah. I was like, oh, maybe is it gonna be worth my time while I'm sitting up and feeding a baby a bottle? I don't know, but after episode 3, if you start watching it, it really picks up. And right towards the end, they just had their season premiere Sunday. It gets really freaking good.
All right, I'm going to give it a watch.
Yeah,
Right
you should
now,
do that.
we've okay. So I was trying to figure out a show to binge watch, and because I totally binge watched Sons of Anarchy, loved it. It was fantastic. And so now we're doing House of Cards,
That's a good show as well.
and like everybody is terrible. Like they're all horrible human beings.
Yeah, but see, the thing is that you kind of be like, oh, that probably is how Washington works.
Oh, hell yes, for sure.
And real quick before we go, speaking of Sons of Anarchy, yep, on FX, right? The Shield on FX, Nip Tuck FX, all these shows that had lots of cursing, lots of violence, and everything. Tyrant is also on FX, but they really restrain themselves for being on FX. Like I really thought. All right, so the premise of the show, fictional Middle Eastern country. American goes back. He's the son of the president, quote unquote, but really dictator. He's got a brother, older brother as well. The father dies. The brother takes over. and then the main character sticks around, tries to help him run this Middle Eastern country, blah. And you think that there'd be a ton more violence in the show, but they're really restraining themselves. And I'm really disappointed because honestly, if they took a couple shits or swear words out, they could just run on Fox. It's that reined in. So I'm kind of disappointed.
That's disappointing.
But it is a good show.
But did you know that Kurt Sutter, or Suter, I'm not sure if it's Sutter or Suter, but who did Sons of Anarchy, has another series coming out?
Is it one that has like knights and stuff?
Yeah. It's The Bastard Executioner.
Now, is that a TV show or is that a movie?
No, it's a TV show.
Oh, is it? Well, what channel?
Well, I think it's on Fox. I think he's still working with Fox, and Katie Seagal, who is his wife, also is in this show.
Of course.
But you know what? She's kind of awesome.
Damn it, Peg. Yeah, no, Jack should have shot her like in the pilot.
Well, she's a horrible human being, so I'm not disagreeing with you there.
See, but Jax is a horrible human being too, so I don't even know who like the good people in that show are.
No, there were none, and that's the thing. Like, it
Chibs.
was hard.
That's it.
I do like Chibs. I have a soft spot for Chibs. I hated the ending of the series finale. Like, I hated what happened, but I don't think he had a choice. I think if he was going to keep his kids safe, he had no choice.
I did have a choice. I didn't understand all of the references to Jesus, though. No, like Jax is not Jesus. Get out of here, Sutter.
I never really got that either.
It seemed like forced in.
Right, and that was probably the biggest problem that I had with the show. And I mean, they did a lot of really messed up stuff, which I was fine with. It was like, fine. But, I mean, there was no way Jax was going to end up in it with a happy ending. His whole life has been a series of unhappy endings. So,
well, see, I know one thing. I'm never going to a Northern California prison.
No, that would be a bad idea.
Because, I mean, if it's 1/10 as violent and corrupt as what is depicted on Sons of Anarchy, I wouldn't do well.
And I would do even less well.
Yeah. Oh, but I do like, well, this isn't even spoiler alert since this happened like months ago, but I do like that they left it open. So like, 5, 6, 7 years down the line, Sutter, need a little bit more money. FX, Fox, whatever, needs some more ratings. They can just bring it back. They could just come back to Charming and Sons of Anarchy and old Chibs and, Abel's gotten older and maybe he's going to patch in. But
he's not old enough. In 5 years, Abel won't be old enough.
Oh, no, say 10 years. Say Abel's what, like 5 then?
I think even longer, but maybe 15 years.
I don't know. Well, they could advance it.
But they could do it for sure. And it would make, a ton of money.
Yeah. And they could bring Bobby back. Oh, wait, no. Oh.
Nope. Not Bobby.
Poor Bobby. And they could bring Juice back.
Nope, not Juice.
No, they can't. Just let me finish my pie. That was a great line, by the way.
Not Opie.
Well, Opie deserved to die.
He did not.
Oh, by the way, Terriers is a show that only ran for one season and has Donald Logue, who is the sadistic martial guy from Sons of Anarchy. You know him?
Yeah, but no. How did Opie deserve to die?
Oh, sorry. No, not Opie. I'm thinking of who's the character that Sutter played.
Oh, yeah. I can't think of his name, but I know who you're talking about. But Opie, that was the first death that I'm like, man, really? Opie? I loved him. He was like my favorite character.
No. Opie was fine. God, who am I thinking of?
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his name.
Anyways, the character that Sutter played, who was in prison the entire time, he deserved to die. But, all right, so closing out with Sons of Anarchy, the thing I loved about the show is that they weren't afraid to kill off any main character at any moment. Because I'm pretty sure Opie was killed on like episode 7 of the season. Well, just out of the blue.
It was kind of like, I mean, I've only watched the first season of Games of Thrones, but it was like when Ned Stark dies. It was like, it's like that first, like, oh my God, really? That's, yeah. And they had to, and it was cutting edge, and I applaud their bravery. But God, Damn it. Please don't kill my OB. I loved him.
Just like some random Tuesday, and then you're just watching your favorite show, and then bam, main character dead. No big deal. NBD.
Terrible.
Makes you tune in every week.
True. Who's going to be next?
Great device. All right, so closing out again for like the 14th time. So Game of Thrones, there's nothing worse than someone, when you watch a TV show or a movie with someone who's read the book. Now, who would be the worst person to sit next to at a dinner party? A person who's read the book of a popular movie or TV series, someone who just went gluten-free, or someone who just ran their first marathon. Like, who would be the most insufferable?
Jeez, that's tough. It's a tie between the person who's gone gluten-free for the first time, or who's gluten-free, and the person who has run their first marathon. It would be like a dead heat tie.
So I agree. I think the edge would go to the gluten-free person, because you're at a dinner party, you're eating.
Oh,
she probably had something special.
And they're so snug.
Yeah. You're really eating that. Is that like your 7th roll? Yes, it is. Leave me alone, damn it. Look at all this butter. I know it's not gluten-free, but it's delicious, baby. And it's real butter. It's not even organic. I don't even care.
It's like, the thing is, I'm going to die probably a year or two before you, but I'm going to have a hell of a lot of fun before I do. So bite me.
I'm kind of a food advocate for like the Whole Foods thing, where you cook yourself and blah blah blah, nothing processed, eating clean, I think they call it. But I'm not gonna be like a neo-Nazi over it, and I'm also not gonna go on like the gluten-free or the everything needs to be organic train. Just like cook real food. I mean, that should be a movement. Cook
real food.
How hard is that?
It's not. I mean, and we do a lot of protein. We do a lot of fresh fruit and vegetables. We try to minimize the over-processed stuff, but sometimes that stuff's kind of good. Just saying.
In moderation.
Definitely in moderation.
And you don't have to tell everyone about it.
No,
it just means that you have a boring personality of the book person, the gluten-free person, the marathon person, if you have to lead every conversation with that. Like, you can't talk about real events. It's like, hey, gluten-free lady, what do you think about Rachel Dolezal? You got an opinion on that? Well, the thing is, I can't drink regular beer, so I have to get special beer. Shut up!
Yeah, never ask that person.
Why are you even at this party? I didn't invite you. Get out.
Apparently so. All right, so we done here?
I think so. Follow us on Twitter at Andy Must Die. Subscribe, rate, review, iTunes, YouTube, the Stitcher, all those places. Website, as always, andymustdie.com. Die has to get out because she's got to pee. I'm Andy Carlson, and she is Diana Jerome Murphy.
At Die Murphy MN.
Same thing. Thanks for listening. Have an awesome week. If you ran a marathon or you just turned gluten-free, just shut up.
Don't tell us. We don't want to know. We don't care.
Talk about the weather. Talk about Rachel Dolezal. Talk about, I don't know.
Sports.
What?
Talk about the Timberwolves. Something.
Just talk about Sons of Anarchy.
Ooh, yes. I love to talk about Sons of Anarchy.
I like that. All right. See you next time.
The music was created and produced by Deeb. To hear more of his tracks, check out soundcloud.com/Deeb.
We needed to get this right.